Apple hitting all-time highs. Look at this. It's very close to 500. Today, on unconfirmed reports, it will unveil a new iPad in March. And, of course, there's Apple TV coming out. But meanwhile, protesters visiting 6 Apple stores around the world criticize the conditions at factories in China and overseas that make Apple products. But why now? Why now? Those factories have been in full swing for years. Is it because Apple is now fair game for scrutiny? It avoided when Steve Jobs was alive. We welcome our power players, Ford O'Connell, Sasha Burns, and Monica Maida. Monica, first to you. What do you think? When Steve Jobs was alive, he was a face. He was a face of a visionary and somebody that people trusted. Now it's a faceless corporation. Does that make it an easier target?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, Steve Jobs is the face that everyone knows. It's the face that everyone respected. And there's no way he didn't know about a lot of these infringements that they're talking about today.
Clearly.
I mean, it's their top-selling product. There's no way he didn't know this was happening. And if they're attacking them today, what's the news? Like, why is this a big deal now?
Yeah. Sasha?
Well, I think you're right about Steve Jobs, and he had another situation that he shut down a lot quicker, which is what I think the difference would be. That was an environmental issue. I think he would have come out ahead and prevented the protests from happening. But the reason now...
Really? But these things have been around for a long time. I mean, these factories in China that manufacture stuff in ways that our OSHA would never allow them to happen.
Right, which is why it's great to have federal regulation, David. I know you agree with me on that.
Yeah, up to a point, Sasha.
No,
I think we've gone far too far right now.
I know you do.
Yeah.
The difference is there has been, it's investigative journalism. There have been a lot of stories lately about this one specific company that produces a lot of the parts for the iPhones and the iPads. Right. And it's sort of that, you know, one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. If you put it right in front of you and you see, they're pretty terrible working conditions.
But Ford O'Connell, our working conditions when we were industrializing our country were just as bad. People were being killed in great numbers. Children were being killed in our factories. It is something that you seem to go through when you're industrializing, no?
I think that's absolutely right. And let's be honest, it's not like these folks are targeting Hewlett-Packard or some of the other companies that are using the Chinese labor. Let's not be naive here. Apple products are affordable precisely because of sweatshop labor type conditions. And look, I understand that we should hope for better conditions, but I've got starving people in America. I got to put American life before the life of the rest of the world. So right now, obviously, Apple's being targeted because Steve Jobs is no longer there, and they're going after the Goliath to make a point.
All right, switching gears, the federal government paid $1.6 billion of your taxpayer dollars to provide cell phones for low-income Americans. Cell phones are now an entitlement. What do you think about that, Sasha?
Well, you know, the same people who don't believe in universal health care believe in universal service. That's where this came from in the '96 Telecom Act, right?
But don't get into details. Just we don't have much time.
Okay.
Quickly, is it right for us to subsidize cell phones?
I personally don't believe in universal service, but the Republican Senate at the time that passed the act did.
Well,
and that's why we have them.
Whoever passed it, is it good or bad? Shouldn't we get rid of it?
I think what's great is prioritizing jobs over cell phones and food over cell phones and shelter over cell phones. So I think you know where I'm going with this. Let's put the cell phones aside and focus on what matters.
Ford, I think pretty soon we're going to be asking you to subsidize Air Jordans, right?
Absolutely. This is ridiculous. We got to get rid of this program. This is like a Matthew Lesko infomercial on acid, okay? The bottom line is we shouldn't be subsidizing this stuff.
But go ahead.
I mean, just look at the audit that just took place. We found out 276,000 people were double dipping on this. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. And unless you can't monitor it properly, get rid of it.
And Sasha, again, no matter who's, we know that Republicans are involved in earmarks. Republicans have been involved in overspending. No matter who did it, let's get rid of it, right?
I'm totally with you on that. I'll tell you one thing. The big problem with this is no oversight. You know who does oversight? The federal government workers that everybody loves to hate. You want to get rid of government workers? You're losing those people.
Go ahead, Ford.
David, I'll tell you what kills me is that I'm flipping the bill for this plan, and these guys have got a better cell plan than I do. Frankly, I'm going to cut mine and join it.
Quick last word, Monica.
I think everyone can live without the rollover minutes. Let's focus on what matters.
All right. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen. Good stuff. Coming up.